Madam Speaker, I have had the great opportunity throughout my life, and in particular across the heading into my 20th year in this New South Wales State Parliament, of meeting some extraordinary people right around the world, Prime Ministers of London, President of France, some incredible athletes, musicians, movie stars, the great Bart Cummings and Gay Waterhouse, and amongst all of those people, I don't think I've ever met a more down-to-earth person than the Honourable Dame Marie Bashir, who we are offering our condolences to today, and I certainly extend those to all her family. I first met Dame Marie when she was invited as a guest on behalf of the Hillshire Council, which I had been elected to in 2004, to come and open the Castle Hill Show, which I think at that point in time may have been the centenary of the Castle Hill Show, and she brought together with her mounted guard, and it was a huge event. Many thousands of people right across the northwest would attend that particular event. We as a councillor, councillors, and the Mayor in particular, wanted to ensure that we extended our gratitude, and the council had instructed a painter of some repute to travel to Narrandera to find the original house where Dame Marie was born, which still stands to this day, and undertake a portrait of that particular home, and we would present the portrait to Dame Marie when she opened the Castle Hill Show in 2004. She was not only delighted, but she screamed when she opened up the present and she discovered that this was her home. And I remember her screaming to the audience, "I was born in that room," and it was the front room on the house of this painting. And having spoken to the family who are present here today in Parliament, they've assured me that the painting is still kept by the family and in very safe hands, and will be for generations to come. But she was so very touched by what was a very simple gesture, and I was always moved by any time I spent with her, that she was so grounded and that she was so comfortable talking to people, no matter whether it was leaders around the world, but I think she was more comfortable talking to the average person in the street, offering a helping hand. And when I became member in 2007, she was invited to the bicentenary of St Matthew's Church, St Matthew's Anglican Church in Windsor, and the church, as you can imagine, was overflowing. It's a huge church. It was one of Francis Greenway's designs and structures. It wasn't originally, but she went on to tell the story while she was there that Greenway had come out. He was disappointed that he did not get the job of building the church initially. He came out to visit the early construction, kicked over the footings and the early brickwork, went back to the governor, which I think would have been perhaps Bligh or Macquarie at the time, and demanded that he take over the repairs and the building of St Matthew's Anglican Church, a huge structure out in Windsor which stands the testament of time, and also to Greenway as an architect and designer and a builder. And she would tell us these stories. She'd also tell us the stories how she spent her early years as a nurse in the Hawkesbury at Windsor Hospital, where she had a huge attraction with the Hawkesbury and a great love for the area it surrounds, and certainly its people. In 2000, in that same year that I was elected, Madam Speaker, I was invited to be a part of the bicentenary of Macquarie's committee that was run out of this particular Parliament, and it was due to the fact that I was as elected as the member for Hawkesbury at that particular time. And it was a great honour to serve on that particular committee and help in a small way prepare ourselves for the bicentenary that would take place in 2010. And it was throughout those following years that there was possibly not a month would go past where I didn't meet up with Dame Marie and spend time chatting. And she was a great admirer of Macquarie. She saw him as a reformer, someone who embraced cultural aspects, and certainly the buildings up and down this street, a testament to his embrace of the heritage that we now see and that remains to this particular day. He was a supporter, as was his wife, certainly Elizabeth, in establishing places for women for safety. And she saw in him just a wonderful leader. And so any time she was invited to attend any aspects of that bicentenary, she did. And we'd catch up and we'd have a chat, and she used to just call me Hawkesbury and I called her Gov, and we got on famously. But she whilst very, very proper and dignified at all times, she also would get a wry smile from things that would occur. And there was one event portraying, I think there were probably about 12 soldiers dressed in their Rum Corps regalia, and as part of the ceremony they fired shots, and I think there were probably a dozen councillors there, a few members of Parliament like myself, and I was sitting next to the Governor, and I just said to her, "Well, Governor," I said, "they're pretty bloody crook shots." I said, "All these politicians around," I said, "and they've missed every one of them," which she thought was just lovely. But she was very, very dignified, but she used to also enjoy a quiet moment. The significance for myself, not only being the representative of Hawkesbury, was that my early ancestors to this country were none other than Charles Whalen. He was a young boy convicted of catching a fish at 15 years of age, convicted to 7 years transportation, travelled to this country, served as a convict, became a member of the Rum Corps, but then would rise up to be the sergeant of the 73rd Regiment, which was like the Praetorian Guard, on behalf of governors, and he would serve in that role on behalf of King, Macquarie, and on behalf of Bligh, Macquarie, and then King. Dame Marie was very much a student of history, but she loved the history around Macquarie. She knew well of my ancestor Whalen, and following on as we led up to the official bicentenary, SBS undertook a documentary, and we both contributed to that documentary, and were both invited to the premiere once that was shown sometime later, which was a very, very special moment. But she was able to put on the record how much she admired him. Throughout the course of that time, I'd also raised the fact that the previous statue that was in the forecourt of Parliament had been removed of Macquarie. It was stationed down in the level 2 basement car park, along with some paint cans and rags and things, and had been forgotten about. I raised that up a number of times in Parliament, and Barry O'Farrell committed. He said if we win the 2011 election, he said, I'll make sure that we appropriately honour Macquarie. And he and Dame Marie opened and unveiled the statue that now stands on the corner there at Hyde Park, looking down through Macquarie. Dame Marie insisted when she became governor that she live in Government House, and I thought that was wonderful. Not only the fact would she live there, but she'd open Government House on behalf of the community, on behalf of the people, stating this is their house, this is not my house, and it's remained like that to this day, allowing people to come through and visit the governor and all the various paintings and the early European history, but the beautiful surrounds and gardens and the views to the harbour, which I think everybody should be able to certainly enjoy, and she made sure of that. Madam Speaker, when speaking about her great love of Macquarie, she would make a comment that Macquarie came here when Bligh was deposed. Bligh had escaped with the support of my ancestor to Van Diemen's Land, or Tasmania, where he spent time, and before Macquarie would assume the governor's role, he demanded that Bligh be given not only safe passage back to Sydney first, from Tasmania, but then back to England to answer to the charges that had been put and why he had been deposed, of course, which he was completely exonerated, and those other people who were responsible that should remain nameless and certainly will, were charged with the removal of the governor. It was one of the very, very rare civil actions ever undertaken in this country. But she used to quote something that Macquarie said. When he took on the governor's role, he stood up, he watched Bligh travel away in his boat back to England, and he turned to the people that were there and he said, as your governor, he said, can I say that if you work hard and do the right thing, you will have in me both a friend and a protector. And she always used to cite that throughout her times, throughout that bicentennial period, which I think is the very, very essence of a good leader. All leaders should be prepared to look after, to befriend all of the people that have elected them, that they are responsible for, and also to protect their best interests. And I can say that no one did that better than Dame Marie Bashir, who will be sadly missed, and I send my condolences to the family. Vale, Dame Marie Bashir.